See this episode's show notes for our unique promo code to get up to 2 months of free podcasting service with Libsyn when you sign up for a new account. Get your show on Apple and Spotify, get helpful stats, and all the support you need to sound your very best.
Hey everyone, this is Phil
and Lulu
of the Capes and Lunatics podcast.
You're listening to Into the Night,
The Moon Knight podcast.
Hello, Looney listeners. You are back. You're listening to Into the Night, the Moon Knight podcast. Another episode to wet your whistle. Another moment where we look up and see a waxing crescent. I'm your host, the High Priest of Khonshu, Ray. Joining me on this awesome barbell smacking themed episode is the power of Chad. Chad, hey, welcome back.
Thanks. I guess we can wait through this together.
Look, you got me on the spot there, Chad. But I think, if I don't know, I was going to say like reps or sets or something. You're right. It's going to be a fun one. Looney listeners, Chad is back for another LUNAR-PICK. It's a modern run review. As I mentioned, it's a waxing crescent, and we will be looking at another, the next part in the Huston run. So Moon Knight Volume 5, Issue 9, not 8.
Yes. It's 9.
Yes, 9. It is the Midnight Sun Part 3. It is for the occasion, and just because I'm such a stickler, what I'm going to do, for the purposes of the video, podcasters, you probably won't even care, but I'm going to throw up the information there again, and you can see it does indeed say 9. So Chad and I will be looking at that. But first of all, a big thank you to all our sponsors, the Patroonies, Odin, Frank, Mario, and Daniel, plus Kulz, and also La La Land Comics. Chad, how you been? Okay, up 5.
I've been great.
You've been good. Yes.
How about you?
Good. Look. We mentioned in the previous episode that you've been on where we did cover issue 8. We mentioned Let's Get Sheet Faced.
Yes.
It was the second sojourn into that, Chad, because the first one, you and I, we did one with the boys over at
Werewolf by Night podcast.
Yes, which I'd like to give a bit of a shout out. They are now the Bronze Age Monsters. Go check them out if you feel a bit lost, but I understand that the feed is the same. So if you had been following them as Werewolf by Night, it would still carry across. But yeah, we had done that before where we did cocktails, Chad. That was nice. We did the Moon Knight cocktail. I love to read.
Basically ice cream in a glass.
It was delicious. I was a bit kind of iffy as to anything that you add milk into, like with alcohol. But
oh yeah,
I mean, White Russians, that works fine. It's fine. It was really good. And you had the Morello cherries, I do believe. Was it the Morello?
It was maraschino cherries.
Maraschino, okay.
Black rum and a little bit of cherry cola.
Yes. Oh, it
just
is
a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Just the token bit. That were good actually. I'm pretty keen on revisiting that again. We did, as I mentioned in the previous episode, we did reconvene again. A little bit overexcited. Look, I can only speak on my behalf. I was probably a little bit overexcited at the prospect of doing a Let's Get Sheet Faced with you again. And when we did the comic book, what Chad and I did was, we set out markers, right? Because that's what the boys over at Werewolf by Night did. So we'd say, if Moon Knight uses his gliding cape, take a sip, that sort of stuff. But we had like a list of 15 like things. So every sentence or every page that we came across, we had to take a sip. You rightly said afterwards, after we both gained sobriety, look, Ray, I think next time let's just do like one, like marker or something, and that's fair. I think that's fair, Chad. I think that's
Yeah. It's
I
like
think
we were taking shots for a time he did like a fancy kick or threw some darts, and it's just like that's like his entrance moves.
exactly.
That's how he starts a page. Just oh god,
I think my bad. I think I called them out. But happy to do another one again, Chad. Anytime that if you find maybe,
anytime.
yeah. I'm talking about those cocktails. I'm hankering for another Moon Knight cocktail. Actually, they were quite delicious. I did like the other guys as one. I like the cosmic buffoon.
Yeah,
That was yours. That was good. And I liked theirs as well, which was the Cohen, the Buck Cohen. I think that was named after one of the characters.
like one of the best characters.
One of those characters, yeah. But definitely the Moon Knight one with the cherry soda cola and the. I haven't even bought. I told you a while ago, Chad, that I was going to buy because we can buy now here like official bottled moonshine. I haven't
Oh
tried
yeah,
that. It's about $60 over here, $60 Australian.
holy
So,
crap!
well, I mean, so that would be 40 US. That's still pretty
Mhm.
expensive, right?
Yeah,
How much?
that's
How
still
much is
pretty
it?
expensive for
How
a
much is it?
bottle.
How much is
Over
over there?
here it's
Meh.
anywhere between 10 to 35,
That's
depending on
crazy.
where you're
See,
getting it.
yeah, it's
But
because
like
that's
over in Moonshine Country,
yeah,
it's 10. You can
10.
get cheap corner store.
Cheaper the better. Like
Yeah,
it's a stupid tariffs over here. That's why. I don't
yeah, it
know.
is exactly
Don't know what's going on. Anyway, but moonshine,
capitalism.
bloody capitalism. I hate him. Yet here I am, surrounded by lovely product, lovely
Right.
products. But yeah, I mean, maybe we should capitalize on that, Chad. Maybe the moonshine next time. Maybe we can do a let's get sheet faced. I'd like to do one a year. You know,
The way things went last time, yeah.
once a decade for that one. Seriously. Yeah, no, that's fine. That's good. Anything else been happening? I know we asked this literally the other episode ago, but yeah.
Let's see.
Anything?
There was the passing of legendary mangaka Leiji Matsumoto.
Oh,
And
okay,
so that means that most of the properties therein are kind of like out in the ether.
okay.
He's renowned for Galaxy Express 999,
Right.
working with Daft Punk,
Oh, okay.
Captain Harlock.
Yeah, right. Oh, so how old was he? Is he?
80.
Oh, good innings. Yeah, no, great. I mean, it's still tragic and sad, of course, but
Yeah.
yeah, okay, yeah, that's. I mean, this by the time this comes out, it might be a bit of late news, but I only read at the time of this recording today, Chad, Tom Sizemore passed away.
Really?
Yeah, he did. He had a heart attack. Let me get this right. I think he had a heart attack, which eventuated in a stroke, which eventuated in an aneurysm.
Oh.
And since, again, at the time of this recording, Chad, since last Sunday, he had been in like intensive care. I'm thinking in a coma.
Yeah.
And the family had discussed what they call end of life, like basically. So yeah, I don't think it is. He was 60, 61, 60, 61. So
That sounds right.
yeah, that's pretty pretty sad. Anyway, R.I.P. Those would know him from Saving Private Ryan, I think, and Red Planet, I think, with Val Kilmer,
Hmm.
that sort of stuff. So yeah. Anyway, I don't know what that has to do with Moon Knight, Chad, but there you go.
Hey, maybe it could do with Warwolf, because Mars.
Oh, yes. Well, there, I like it. I like it. Yes, I like it. I mean, that's a. Oh, sorry, you just got me thinking as well, like, Mars and the Red Planet. And Val Kilmer, he's not doing too well as well, is he?
Nah, he's a little bit on the outs, but
Something. Oh, he can't. speak properly or something. Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Like Top
Throat
Gun,
cancer, I believe.
throat cancer. Jeez. Oh god. My aunt had, she had mouth cancer, which was terrible.
Jeez.
Yeah. She unfortunately passed, I think, in the late 90s or so, or 2000s. But yeah, that wasn't very pleasant. Anyway, listeners, up vibe. Come on, we started with talking about getting pissed, and they ended up talking about like deaths, which some would say is kind of connected to Moon Knight.
Yep.
Especially the Houston run. Yes. So anyway, white noise. Look, we are recording a bit ahead, so anything that we do say will be severely outdated by the time that you do listen to this. Although, having said that, Chad, in my mind, I have come up with a plan. So this may well, I'm not going to commit to anything, but I'm just going to say now this may well succeed after the episode that we've just recorded as well. I think. Anyway, I'm just going to leave that out there. I'm not going to commit to any episode number because this might just slot in somewhere convenient. Let's head on and let's do a LUNAR-PICK modern run review. We are doing, as I mentioned, let me chuck it on there again. Midnight, Volume 5, Issue 9. It's for the occasion. So it's Part 3 of Midnight Sun. Chad and I, we covered Part 2, which was a cracker. Just a bit of a recap. It had the confrontation with Cap, all to do with Civil War. Had a bit more on Midnight, or we know it's Midnight, with Detective Flint approaching Moon Knight, actually tailing Moon Knight, and speaking to him at the scene of a rather grisly crime. We got bits of Netta, as well as we got, what we'll see in the opening gambit here, we got Rob, the personal trainer, aka the partner to Frenchie. So yeah, I will post up here just for those who do see the video, faithful patroonies. So Midnight Sun Part 3 for the occasion, release date April 18, 2007, cover date May 2007. Writer again, Charlie Huston, penciler Mico Suayan. So a departure from David Finch. I wouldn't mind discussing this with you, Chad, seeing the change in artwork. Inkers, Mico as well. Colorist, Frank D'Armata. Letterer, Joe Caramagna. And the editors remain the same from the previous issue, Daniel Ketchum and Axel Alonso. Chad, do you reckon Howard Mackie named Ghost Rider Danny Ketch after Daniel Ketchum, the editor? I reckon there might be something in there.
Ketchum's kind of a common name out here.
Is it? But Ketch, because he couldn't name him Danny Ketchum straight away, because then it's blatantly the editor, right?
Yeah.
Do you reckon Danny Ketch?
I wouldn't say so.
Oh, I'd love to ask Howard Mackie that.
But...
No, that's fine. No. Who knows? We don't know. You're
out in the boonies here. We have a family of Ketchum, so it's like
awesome. Yeah,
can't really say.
Because I know I'm just going to name drop in the Spider Woman podcast that to know her is to fear her. When we were covering the Carla Pacheco run, one of the villains that Carla invented, I can't remember her name right now, but she was fashioned very much after one of the editors, I think, or one of the other people credited in the thing. And the name, I think, was similar as well. So I don't think it's uncommon maybe for creators to, there's
drop people in.
Yeah, there is that also as well. We could speculate about Stephen Grant, the writer.
Which Stephen Grant are we talking about?
Yeah. Oh, are there more Stephen Grant like writers?
Well, he was named after one of the American presidents.
Oh, was he? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's
I guess
why
Grant
Stephen Grant, and Captain America. His middle name is Stephen Grant.
Oh, okay. Because there was a writer like in the 80s or something called Stephen Grant as well.
Yeah,
I wonder
wrote The Shadow.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and he did one. I think he did one issue of Moon Knight, and I know it. I think he did some Iron Man. So I just wonder if Mensch, just thought, I'll just call you Stephen Grant because, anyway, I don't know. It's all speculation.
Speculation.
Yeah. And what happened to? I'm going to call out that guy. What was he? Oh, that loony. He was cool. Anyway, a shout out to you if you're still listening. Who he coined the term speculation, and we've used it ever since. So anyway, this issue is available in floppy format. Still, I don't think it's very expensive. You can get it. Look on eBay, look in bargain bins. I'm pretty sure it's still there. Digitally, it's on Marvel Unlimited. You can buy it on the Marvel app. You can buy it in the Comixology/Kindle store. And it's part of many trades as well. Similar to last episode, out-of-print trades, there are hardcovers, there are trade paperbacks, but most recently, it's the omnibus of Huston, Horowitz, and Benson stories that was released last year, I think it was, which I think is still available now. So go pick it up. Anyway, Loonies, what we'll do, Chad and I will go through our bare bones again. Thank you, Uncle Wiki. They provide us plentiful words to weave you a tale of what happens. Just to give you a reminder, a refresher, or if you haven't read it, then you will know what we're going to talk about. Then Chad and I will go through some overall impressions of this issue, and then we'll go through some key moments, like the beats. So basically, the main things that popped out for us, whether they be good or bad, and then some maybe notes on art and references, and then Chad and I will finish this off with a rating from the Khonshu rating system. So Chad, again, may I trouble you if you do? Would you have the prom sheet handy? There it is. Would you please let the fair loonies know what this issue is all about?
Okay, we're starting off with the wiki entry for the bare bones. Rob continues to work with Marc in his physical therapy. While training, he asks Marc about his superpowers. Marc tells him that he doesn't have any, but indicates that he once developed enhanced strength, reflexes, under the full moon. Khonshu continues to whisper in Marc's ear and tells him to get rid of Rob. Suddenly, Midnight bursts through the wall of the house and attacks them. Marc hurls a gem weight at him, but Midnight catches and throws it at Rob. Midnight is angry that Marc isn't trying harder to hunt him down. He wants to establish himself as Moon Knight's arch nemesis, but so far Midnight is concerned. Marc has not been paying him due attention. As the two wrestle about, Marc picks up a sharpened piece of metal and drives it into Midnight's left ear. Midnight howls in pain, then pulls the metal out, trailing pieces of flesh along with it.
Marc begins battering at him with hand weights, but Midnight's enhanced stamina enables him to withstand the blows. He pins Marc to the wall, then proceeds to extract one of his teeth and forces him to swallow it. All the while, he continues to taunt Marc with fantasies of what he will do to Marc's former lover, Marlene. After he is finished torturing him, Midnight leaves and says that their final showdown will take place at the stroke of midnight. Rob leaves and meets with Frenchie. He tells him what happened, and Frenchie warns him about the infectious nature of Marc's lifestyle. Marc changes into his costume and meets up with Ray. They board the moon chopper and fly out over the city. Marc has a bead on where Midnight is going to be, but something distracts him. He sees emergency vehicles converging around some skyscrapers, and on the rooftop of one of the buildings stands the Punisher. Yes. So, as Chad mentioned, I think off air, very misleading cover here. Awesome cover, I got to tell you that. It's an awesome cover.
Oh, yeah. It looks great, like the bared claws of Crescent and just Punisher in a good stance for machine gun fire. It looks great.
just in a shirt as well. He's just
Yeah,
like
and
so
they're both
cash.
absolutely ripped. They're huge.
Exactly. But yeah, we only see the Punisher at the very end. So
Yeah.
yeah. Um, overall impression, Chad. What did you
Yep.
make of this issue?
I really like, as far as like a general comic, it was okay, but for this story continuation, it was great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, just the
Yeah.
action was unbridled.
Yeah. Good word for it. I totally agree with you as well. It's no secret I love my action, and you're right. I mean, standalone comic wise, this would you could dare say goes through the motions, but as part of the Midnight Sun arc, coming in part 3, we've got the build, we've got the setup, we've got the exposition from issue 2 and such, and issue 1, and now we get some full on confrontation with Midnight, and I loved it. And I want to call out already Mika Suayan's art. As much as I enjoy and I love David Finch's art as well, there's enough difference here to notice the difference with Suayan, but at the same time, it is consistent with Finch's art. Like, it's not too
Yeah.
jarringly different. It's similar to, I put it to people may shoot me down for this, Sabatini and Cappuccio in the Jed McKay run. I enjoy both of them. And I don't want to say if I prefer one over the other, because I don't want to, throw shade on any of the others. But I think they're consistent enough. I mean, they're different styles, but they kind of evoke the same tone. And I think Suayan does this with his artwork.
I see what you mean. I
Mm.
could see that with it. It's they have their own highlights,
Yeah.
but they are there's kind of a gap there.
Yeah. I mean, as well, having seen a lot of Suayan's art elsewhere, because he did a lot for Valiant Comics as well, and I love you, Chad, you as well. You love Valiant Comics too.
Yeah.
You can tell here that I think the direction from Huston is obviously a bit more of a darker tone. There's so much more shadow here that Suayan uses, I think, more than he's probably used to. Again, this could be his earlier years, and this could be his artwork, but it tends to lean more towards the Finch style, in the sense, not even Finch's style, but what Finch is trying to do as well with his art. And much of it would be to the coloring as well. I mean, so you get a lot of blacks, and the definitions are so pronounced with the black as well. But yeah, really love the art. I really love this issue. Going on from the previous issue, very violent, Chad. I mean, there were those two things that we mentioned in the synopsis. One, the pin in the ear, and the other one, swallowing the tooth. I mean, that's a new one.
And just like how poetic it was, because that's the same tooth that Marc knocked out while he's swinging those barbells at him.
Oh, really? Okay.
So it's like, he's just trying to deliver the, last punchline with it. And it's just like, it's brilliant, but horrible.
Oh, no, it is. And actually, I mean, before even going into any of the key aspects or moments of the issue, I want to just give a shout out to Midnight, to Jeff Wild. I mean, this is the first time we get the full introduction of him in his. So Mika Suayan has the honor of showing us the full Midnight there, and he looks so different from the Mark Bagley Amazing Spider-Man Jeff Wild Midnight that we see. He's definitely a cyborg still, but more of a horror tinged cyborg, and even his costume with that, like the tuxedo, is very strange.
It's like the Joker Terminator.
Yeah. But he is a whacked one. I mean, again, you alluded to in the Wiki, he is reduced to tears, right? I think it's in this one, isn't it? Or maybe it was the last issue. He's reduced to tears, and the nurse has to kind of console him because Moon Knight is not paying any attention to these
Oh,
to the murders. He's like,
that
what do
was.
I? Yeah.
I think that was actually in what was it? 7.
Oh, 7 was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So all the way back in part 1, but yeah, he is totally kind of unhinged, and the fact that he stops the fight, like, and he goes, "Look, I don't want to fight you. I want to fight the real Moon Knight. Get your costume on, get all your bells and whistles. Let's make a thing. Let's make a date at midnight to do it." The fact that he's
It's cute.
it's cute, yeah. It's just, yeah, totally wacko. Because he, for all intents, he had Marc on the ropes here. That could have been it. The end of Moon Knight. Marc
He
was,
wanted them dressed up and ready to fight
yeah,
and dance all night.
yeah. It just didn't feel right for him to do it now. He wanted to just throw down the gauntlet. This was throwing down the gauntlet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, one of the main aspects here, Chad, I thought was obviously the fight was a huge one. What did you make of? I thought this was a very unique fight scene. I haven't seen anything like this.
I was really impressed. Like, I'm not surprised, but impressed that Marc was swinging like 50-pound barbells with his punches. Like, and that would tear someone to pieces.
Yes.
Like, being the person swinging it, it's just like, Marc, yeah, he's a heavyweight boxer, but that's so much weight. That would kill a person.
I know.
Like,
How
that,
cool.
he would just drop out. No one has that stamina.
Yeah. I think it's a really great, innovative way of showing like a different fight, this setting, because with weights, anyone that has been to a gym or tried to lift a weight anyway, you got differing weights and the weight of them, but then using like Marc, as you say, flinging them, the amount of force and pain that would inflict on someone, albeit,
It's Moon Knight.
yeah, Moon Knight. Oh no, I mean the recipient. I mean, albeit like midnight, like he just catches it one hand, but having a knowledge of the weight of it when you see it like in the action scene, it kind of adds a bit more, like how much this will inflict, as opposed to like in some comics, say for instance, the Hulk rips an oak tree out of the ground and hurls it at someone. Look, we don't have a concept of how damaging that would be. I mean, because we've never lifted an oak tree, but with weights, you kind of like, oh wow, this is hard metal, like that being flung at you.
So I'm just
anyway,
gonna say, since moving out to the property, we've had like windstorms and trees come down. It's like, there is no freaking way.
Yeah. Yeah, that amazes us as well when we have storms as well and that uproots trees, because the amount of force needed for that is just phenomenal. Yeah. So, but we see stuff like here, like Midnight catches it, Jeff catches it, and he just rips the weight cleaves it into, and he hurls it back, and almost, I think, does he get him? But he almost gets Rob.
He hits Rob.
He does hit him, okay, because that would cause serious damage. Oh, he does. That would cause serious damage.
Oh yeah, because he hits him center mass.
Yeah,
right in the solar plex.
In the solar plex.
No, that's done. You're put down.
Yeah, and exactly. But not only that, Marc gets the what do you call the bar from the barbell, which has its own innate weight as well. Like, so it's not like it's
like
weight
10 pounds.
Yeah, it's not like it's weightless. Like when it's got a bit of weight to it, but he uses it. And I like it. So these action scenes. Sometimes action scenes can be overwhelming, or you don't see enough of it and you can't follow it. Only the really classic older comic book issues where the fight, like the camera is further out and you can kind of see everything. I think some modern comics tend to be really up close or really frenetic that you don't actually understand what's happening. over here, you get a over here you get a flow like with Marc hurling the bar at midnight, him catching it, and him smacking Marc with it like in one move. I think that's
Yeah.
really really cool. But yeah, I mean, talking about innovation here, Chad. Rob tries to stop midnight, which is cool. He's got Marc hovering in the air, like very tropey
Yeah.
stranglehold. But Rob stops him. But this pin, oh man, how cool is that? And I think Suayan and the art, he really sells it. I mean, we really get a horror. Like even if you look at the angles of Marc, as he kind of just before he puts the pin on, it's classic horror. Just the
Yeah.
undershot or whatever, upshot of the face. But he drives that in. So Marc's a smart one. He knows he can't outmatch Midnight with strength. So he goes for the weak points. And him being a mercenary, a master combatant, he goes for what he knows. So he gets Jeff in the ear, which is terrible. And we know for sure as well that Jeff does feel pain. We know that the nurse has intentionally put pain in him. Otherwise, he's just like a cyborg, like a robot. He just can't feel anything. So he does have nerve endings or nerve sensors.
She mentions that he has force feedback receptors, which that's basically like a rumble pack or a vibrator sentence for your controller or something like that.
Oh, okay. Right.
So he doesn't feel pain. It's like dulled, and maybe like figuratively, since he doesn't feel pain, all of a sudden getting a whiff of it, he might feel pain.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, no, she does mention. I do recall she mentions that it sounded very technical, so I didn't pay too much attention. But that's interesting because I mean, again, it shows the thought that Huston has put into this rather than just throwaway. Throwaway concepts. He actually ensures that it's carried through. The shot here, of Midnight taking out the pin with excess flesh, I guess, and stuff hanging off it is quite sickening. But I love this next bit. Marc has the dumbbells. And he's doing a bit of exercise as he fights. So he's holding both of them almost as like cestus, like as gauntlets, and he's punching Midnight with it. Awesome stuff. And again, Marc's body is only human. This can only bode not that much, not well for Marc because, he's only human. But yes, but there's a tooth there that you're talking about, Chad. I think that comes out. Well spotted. Again, lovely work here from Suayan. The big hero shot there. I mean, that transcends any panel borders. It just overlaps over it. Just very creative uses of panels here. So Marc falling through it. It all overlaps quite well. But here, we got Midnight. This was, I thought, rather like sickening, and it was entertaining. But I was kind of thinking, so Huston thought of this? Like he thought this particular thing to do. Like what he's going to do, I'm going to extract a tooth out of someone, going to shove it in their gob and cover their mouth so they have to swallow it. I mean, it's not going to kill Marc. But it's just going to be massively uncomfortable. Yeah.
And realistically, he'll have to pass it.
Exactly, Chad.
It's like there's like tax that he has to pay for fighting Midnight. It's debilitating. It's embarrassing.
Exactly, it is. I thought it was a strange one because it's a level of discomfort. It's not like he's broken his arm. He's just kind of made it. Although, again, Suayan shows it in a rather graphic way. He's coughing up, looks like blood or something, or sputum from his mouth. So he does make it. And again, the horror, like the close-up of the eyes, agog, and the mouth, the glove, the leather glove over the nose and mouth. It's all really well done, I think. So Jeff Wild, absolutely a terror. I would have to say this iteration of his is my favorite, just because it's just so horror grotesque, as opposed to the Marc Spector one, as opposed to the Amazing Spider-Man iteration of Jeff Wild. I don't know about you. What do you reckon, Chad?
I like this one the most,
Mm.
but I also think there's like a level of identification here that, you know, Cap comes to Marc and like has all this, grandiose like speeches to give about, you need to, stand up for your fellow man and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And, at this point, Bucky has already come back into his life.
Mm-hmm.
And he's recovering, turning into a superhero again. Marc is now fighting his Bucky, and it is not the same fight.
No, no, not at all. Yeah, that's a good point. Far out. Yes, the whole sidekicks thing, isn't it? Like, it's crazy. He even Midnight Jeff even calls out to Rob, doesn't he? I think in the issue before, or it might be this
New
one where he
meat.
says, "Yeah, the new meat. Are you the sidekick? Think you're better than me? All that sort of stuff," which kind of paints a hatred towards this guy that he's only just met, Rob. But we're talking about a maniacal person, so who knows what's going on in his mechanical head. But yeah, so in typical crazy form, as we mentioned, he just kind of ups and leaves. I've had my fun. This is it. Go clean yourself up. I want the real Moon Knight. So that's where it's kind of left. What did you think of? This was one of the other beats, and it's a small one. It's a Frenchie chat with Rob.
I thought it was good. Like, with all this escalation and violence and stuff, it kind of framed the entire thing to set up for the rest.
Yeah.
Because if we didn't have this, it would just kind of feel like a run-on sentence.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It kind of breaks it up a bit, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't help but think, because, obviously having read it ahead and knowing what happens, because I think we did cover a lot of the Benson stuff before we actually covered this. There is such a repetitive theme here. I mean, these two, there's a tension. This is the beginning of some sort of tension, and it builds up. I think it culminates in the Benson run where it's literally this: they're on the bed, but Frenchie storms out because of this kind of continual puppy dog kind of adoration that Rob has for Moon Knight. And Frenchie knows, like, he's been there and done that. I mean, you see shots of his legs. He knows the costs that are involved. I mean, if anything, look at Midnight. He's just seen Jeff Wild.
Yeah.
This is what happens if you are part of Moon Knight's world, So I think these conversations with Rob are very important. They're kind of touchstones with the reader for us to know, or remind us that, Moon Knight is a superhero, but he damages a lot of people, his friends. He's trying to do good, but he actually ruins a lot of lives. And so we'll see that later on coming up as well. Having said that as well, we do get towards the end here, the old cast, the old network. There's a mention of Marlene, because Moon Knight almost like freakishly stalking her. She says
when isn't Marc freakishly stalking her?
Yeah. She says, like, grow up or leave me alone. Like, she's had this before. She says, damn you, you have to stop this. If you want to see me, come and see me. And you see Marc just, as Moon Knight, just silently put the phone away. I mean, that's just, come on, Marc, you got to own it. He doesn't own it yet with Marlene. He doesn't confront her. He doesn't communicate with her. But where I was going with this as well, Chad, was we see Ray. And again, I think from issue 7, another ramification of Marc, like Jenna blames Jake or Marc for filling Ricky with all these stories of war and superhero do-gooding, and resulted. So what we know, one of the big things that we should mention is that Ricky has passed.
Yeah.
One of Jenna's sons, and she blames him for that. So again, his touch is poison to his friends. Like anything that he does, he seems to muck them up. So that's a running theme in this, and it's a running theme ever since the bottom as well. The first arc.
Well, even before that, it was volume 2 that it's like no matter where he went, someone could track him back and find him, attack his friends.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I think though Huston really does like spell it out. Like in this run though, he really does show, like, Marc, you're, for want of a better word, you're a bit of a cancer to your friends. Like, and that's, is that how you define a superhero? The jury's out on that one. So this is why we love him, Loonies. This is why Moon Knight's such a complicated character.
Speaking of complicated characters, I actually meant to talk to you about this before.
Oh, yeah.
They have casting for Sentry.
Yes,
Stephen
Yuan. Yeah, how cool is that? I'm
awesome. Have
I'm
you seen him in Mayhem?
No, only in Walking Dead, but I'm pretty down for it actually. Like, I've never really considered, who would be cast as Sentry, but I reckon he'd be great. Like, I reckon he can pull off that. Oh, and also him doing Invincible.
Yeah.
Just the voice acting. Yeah, he's fantastic in that. Yeah, I can see it. It'd be really cool. So yeah, very exciting news. And yeah, talking about unhinged, difficult character. Oh my god, Sentry. We've only just started covering him in the new Avengers run with Bendis over at the Spider-Woman podcast. But yeah, fantastic. So yeah, more of this. We get also Crawley, which is cool. I think Huston writes Crawley really well. Like, I love reading Crawley's overly verbose speak. It's great, and it's got the little flies. So hats off to Suayan for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, the only last big aspect of this is towards the end, and we're heading towards it now. Basically, as you mentioned in the synopsis, Chad, a bit distracted. Like there are some cars ablaze and stuff. Having said that, I don't want to be overly critical, but it's a little bit of wonkiness in the Punisher. I don't know if you agree. The depiction here, I don't know, something with his head. It just looks a bit weird. But other than
There's
that,
a lot of neck that would have to be there to be able to crane it like that. Like, regardless of the angle that he's shooting at. And
I mean, I understand he's jacked up, but maybe it's the angle as well. But some bits look a bit out of proportion, like his leg. But I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I mean, it's a throwaway kind of comment, because it's, he's firing a gun, looking awesome on top of a roof, and the moon chopper coming to get him, sets things up pretty well. I like how he's got the white gloves and the boots, very classic,
I was actually thinking about that a while back, and it's like, why would he do that? It doesn't make sense for the Punisher. Yeah. And then, he probably got it at like a surplus store from like S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, right? That is their color scheme.
I was about to say he probably borrowed some from Mooney. He just said, running a bit low here, Mark. Have you got anything? No, you're right. S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, absolutely. The more practical, I would think, is that whoever designed Jerry Conway, more superhero-y, otherwise if it's all black. But absolutely, the idea of the skull drawing fire. I mean, why would you draw fire to your hands and your legs? That's just a bit weird. But yeah, it ends on that. So, I mean, are you a fan of the Punisher, Chad? Or
yeah,
yeah.
Funny.
Oh, you are.
I'm actually wearing.
Oh, you are. Yeah. Okay. But awesome. Yeah. Yeah, me too as well. I feel he's a very divisive kind of character as well, and the controversy that has come with him and all
Yeah.
that. But I still enjoy. Like I just recently read another. It wasn't a Garth Ennis. It was actually a Dwayne Swazinski run. 6 Hours to Kill. It was a
Okay.
Punisher. Yeah, Punisher Max. And oh
Yeah.
man, he's just awesome. As, that Garth Ennis era of Punisher is just fantastic. That's how he should be. Yeah.
It's knowing the Punisher, that is like exactly how it would ramp up. Because
Yes.
he's completely unhinged. He's not
Yep.
okay. There is no limit that he wouldn't go to.
Yep. Psychotic, sociopathic.
Oh yeah.
Just the lack of the ability to engage with people properly, because understandably, what he's been doing for so long and what has been done to him uh, has kind of withered all remnants of connections to other human beings. So
Yeah.
it's really interesting to see. So this arc that I read, 6 Hours to Kill, it's really interesting to see his interactions with other human beings, like whether they are people are trying to help him or whether they are the bad guys. He tends to act the same,
Yeah.
and I think that's just really kind of haunting and cool, kind of at the same time for him. He's really gone beyond any humanity. But yeah. Anyway, I find him a very, very interesting character. I love how you get the levels of him, then you get Moon Knight, who's very kind of different, but at
There's
least
a
in the
lot
Houston
of
run, yeah,
similarities.
yeah, at least in the Houston run, a lot of similarities. And then you get the Daredevil, these vigilantes, and yeah, Spider Man as well. But he's got
Mm,
superpowers. Like he's really, yeah.
it kind of
But these street,
elevates him out of the same
yeah,
gutter.
yeah, yeah, exactly, yeah, exactly. But Punisher, yeah, Moon Knight and Daredevil, crazy stuff. But yeah, Punisher's definitely. What was it? I can't remember what I was reading, but it might have been issue 7 of this, rereading issue 7, where no, it might have been Captain America in the previous issue. He's going where Frank needs to be in a cage. He's saying you
Oh,
need to be in a straitjacket, and I just
and Moon Knight says, if I'm going to be in a straitjacket, I'll tie it myself.
yeah, very
It's
cool.
like, I
Yeah,
mean, I wouldn't doubt it with Marc.
yeah, yeah. I love it because it's just in those few simple words. Houston has created something like it's a glimpse into how Mark perceives himself. Yet it's
Mhm.
also a glimpse of how Captain America perceives him, gauges him against the Punisher. But I
Yeah,
love that comparison. Whereas Frank belongs in the cage, you belong in a straitjacket, and that says a lot about the Punisher as well. Like he belongs.
yeah,
He's just this uncontrollable like dog.
beast.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, listeners, it ends on that. Chad, any other final thoughts on this issue, this huge action-packed issue?
Um, just that last page, that's pretty prolific, but also there's no port to have those shells ejected on that gun. So I'm wondering how that gun works.
Well, it's modified, by Micro somewhere. He's done that somehow. I don't know. Yeah, um, yeah. So, yeah, we know the Moon Chopper can run pretty much on silent. So even over the gunfire, Frank would not hear them coming. That sort of stuff. Out of 10, Chad, what would you give this out of 10 burst eardrums?
I think I'd have to give it a 7. It's not as good as
7?
the last one, but it had a lot of concentric, like, things it had to pull out, you know?
Yep. Yeah, no worries. 7 out of 10. So what was that one again? I think my iPad has just died. That is a round solid boy, is it? I think it is
Yeah,
something
that's
like that.
Solid Boy.
Solid boy. We're going opposites now, Chad, because I'm with the previous issue. Previous issue, I went 7, you went 8, and now this issue,
Yeah.
I'm going to go 8, and you're going to go.
Really?
You went 7. Yeah, I mean, I totally understand where you're coming from, like as single issue point of view, like how this works, but that aside, I just love the whole action piece of this, and I'm a big fan of Suayan's art, how he goes really into the kind of the grotesque. I mean, Finch does that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Finch does it well, but he's got a lot to play with here, Suayan. He gets the honor of introducing us to Midnight.
Yeah.
So I dare say he had part in designing that new look of Midnight. So, yeah, no,
It's
really,
so juicy.
it is very juicy, isn't it? Yeah, and albeit a very fleeting appearance by Frank, anytime Moon Knight and the Punisher come together, it's glorious days ahead. So looking forward to that, and I love the support cast. We did see Marlene, Ray, we saw Frenchie, so we get a fair bit of the old crew there, which is pretty cool, and a bit more of Rob as well. So 8 out of 10. I would give this. Big beautiful yellow man, I think that was. So
Yep.
Loonies, let us know what you think as well. We've still got the discussion thread up. I think I've got them for both issues 8 and 9. This is great because you can combine the two, and let us know what you think. Even add in part 1 in there. How are you finding Midnight Sun? I think it's an underrated arc, Chad, because it comes after the bottom, and the bottom influenced so many.
Prolific.
Yeah. It kind of made such an impact on so many readers, but I think as a follow-up, is that right, sophomore story, is that an American term? Is that
Yeah,
right?
that's kind of an American term, but that kind
Yeah.
of implies that there's more in the series after.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah, I thought like as in the second, the how they talk about musicians, you got the debut
Their
album.
sophomore album.
Yeah, the sophomore album. Yeah, the follow up. As far as follow ups go, I think it's very strong, and unfortunately, I think it gets glossed over, as I said. So let us know what you think, Loonies. Always happy to hear. There's great discussions happening on Discord, as well as Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can catch us all over there, even on YouTube as well. We are. I should have said that because we generally are on YouTube, but for past issues like this, the videos are pretty much just for the patronies. So anyway, let us know. Chad, thank you once again. Awesome chat with you. It's a lot of fun. Any plans coming up for yourself or the fam?
I need to catch up on Moon Knight, like the current run.
Oh,
I've just been really busy.
Yeah. Are you collecting anything else at the moment?
Unfortunately, being out here in the boondocks, I can't really get out much. But
Okay.
I mean, I'm looking forward to this Sunday where the next episode of The Last of Us comes out.
Oh, yep. Nice one. Yeah.
Then, of course, like I said, the next installment of Name of the Wind.
Yep. Definitely add that in.
I've been waiting years for it.
Name of the Wind. Yeah, take heed, listeners. I've been always looking for some good books to read as well, so it'd be good to, and fantasy as well, because what was it? Justin was telling me about the Dragonlance.
Oh yeah,
Chronicles.
Dragonlance is coming out again.
And I'm pretty keen to get into that. So I mean, just because I don't know, keen to just read something, read like fantasy. I don't know. I've never really read much of that before, other than Lord of the Rings. That's fantasy, isn't it? Yeah,
that's fantasy.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, good times there. Yeah, I've got to catch up on my pile as well. Chad, I do keep up to date with Moon Knight, but I'm looking forward to. I'm loving the Fantastic Four run at the moment by Ryan North. He's also doing Secret Invasion. I think that's a mini that's wrapping up. But I've just got to catch up on a few things. I'm still collecting Aftershock, I think Ed Brisson's doing There's Something Wrong with Patrick Todd. That's been a very interesting mini-series about this teenager who has weird mind powers and is being tracked by a serial killer. So that's always fun. But plenty to catch up on. Loonies, a big thank you once again to all our patroonies. You can support also our principal sponsors, Odin Sword on Dricky Marvel podcast. Go check that out. Frank the Think Tank on I Want to Fight It podcast. Support Daniel Doing also on Fringe Night with patreon.com/Fringe Night 27. And please check out CLZ Comics. Or CLZ Comics on collectors.com, and also you get 20% off if you use the code MOON for Dreamland Comics, that store online. We're part of the collective as well, so check out all the fine shows there as well. I'll give a shout out to Inner Demons, a Ghost Rider podcast, Gamma Charge, the strongest podcast there is, all about the Hulk, and the boys doing great guns over at TV Podcast Industries. They're fantastic. I love those guys. Recently have surpassed their 750th episode. How cool is that? So big congrats to Derek, John, and Chris there. You can find us, Loonies, or drop us a line on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. Just use the handle ITK Moon Knight, and you should be able to find us there. We've got an email, feedback@itkmoonnight.com, and we've got a website as well where you can leave a comment at the end of the episode page. So plenty of ways to contact us. We love to talk about comics. Get to check out Chad as well. Chad is in and around the traps of ITK, as well as Captain Harlock. Your page over there, Chad. A lot of memes, a lot of
lots of memes.
Lots of memes. Go check it out. I think I've got everything. That was just off the top of my head, Chad, because as I said, my iPad has conked it, so I haven't got the prompt sheet. Thank you once again, Chad.
Yeah, no problem. It was fun.
Yeah, it was awesome. Awesome fun to have you on. I hope to have you on. Hope it's not as long next time before having you on again. But obviously I realize, life and scheduling and duties, but hopefully we can see each other more often.
Yes.
And with that, Loonies, as always, may Khonshu watch over the denizens of the night. Catch you later.
Bye.
Moon Knight and affiliated characters, stories and events are properties of Marvel Characters Incorporated. Materials used and discussed within the podcast are intended for critique and review purposes only under the fair dealing concept of the current Copyright Act. The views, information or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the copyright owners.
Tell me his name again.
Thanos.
I think I shall call him Adam.
But return to me again empty-handed, and I will bathe the starways in your blood.
Thanks, Dad. Sounds fair.
Korvac's power grows, as does his madness. He would have destroyed us all, had I not pulled us into the Soul Gem.
Then Thanos, I'm coming for you.
After Xandar, you were going to kill my father?
You dare to oppose me?
You see what he has turned me into. You kill him, I will help you destroy 1,000 planets.
It's all right, Adam. We're here to help. Just stay cool. I don't want to be here!
Resurrections, an Adam Warlock and Thanos podcast. 5 years and going strong. Every other week. Mostly. For all of your Adam Warlock, Thanos, or Marvel Cosmic Needs. Find it on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, and wherever else podcasts are available. resurrectionsadamwarlock.tumblr.com.
Adam Warlock, you cannot keep leaving your philosophy books open on the floor. I always trip on them in the middle of the night on my way to the can.